natin yan.
Malakas yung kutob namin ni Felma. Kinalaman talaga si Hazel sa kapahamakan nangyari sa mga anak namin.
Saan punta yun? Ako ba hinahanap niyo? Are you stalking me?
Sa susunod, huwag kayong padalos-dalos.
Gusto lang po kasi namin makatulong ni ate sa paghahanap ng justice para sa family natin.
Sige tol, ayusin mo yung piring.
Idol! Hanap ba? Siyempre! Sandali! Wala akong gagawin masama. Makinig ka. Itatakas kita.
Ano si Jeffrey? Ano to, natakasan kayo?
Si Jojo!
Jojo, traitor ka! So magkakampi na sila?
Kuya, salamat ha.
Binabasto ko lang yung mga mali ko.
Tsaka magsusumbong nyo kay Felma!
Jeffrey, anak. Wala ka nangyayari. Si Hazel. Si Hazel ang may gawa nito sa'yo.
Si Hazel nga. Siya hindi mo niya nagpatukot sa akin, Nay.
Ikaw na nga, Bay. Sa tula ng kasamaan ng babaeng yun.
Sunog na sa impyerno yung kaluluwa niya. Inuuot, inaagnas. Sagad na sa buto yung kasamaan niya eh.
Pero bakit? Anak, bakit ka naman yung pinadukot? Bakit niya ginawa sa'yo to?
Napakatama mo, hindi ka pa nag-iisip, ha? Bakit pinakawalan mo si Jeffrey? Ha? Nasa kulungan ang pagsak natin, hindi ko ba naiintindihan?
Hindi ko naman siguro ginagawa mo. Pati sa pamilya nila. Mabuti silang tao. Kasi,
Narinig mo ba yung sarili mo? Na-brainwash ka na nila?
hindi ako tanga para hindi malaman ang totoo. Minahal nila si Jessica na parang pamilya. Ikaw ang nagpakit ng tao. Nagsinungaling ka. Nagpanggap ka na inaapi ka nila. Pero mabuti silang tao. Hindi sila masama.
Ano ngayon? Babaligtad ka na? Kinakampihan mo na sila? Gusto ko lang ipaalala sa'yo. Hindi mo sila kaano-ano. Si Jessica, siya ang kadugo mo, kaya dapat lang ipag-ingat mo siya.
Tama na! Hindi na ako magpapauto sa'yo. Itigil na natin to. Ayoko na.
Hindi mangyayari yun. Hindi ako susuko.
Hazel, sumuko ka na.
Pakahayop mo. Talagang dinala mo dito yung mga polis, ha?
Tama na! Tama na! Hazel! Hazel! Sumuko! Ah!
Si Hazel yun yung mastermind ng lahat. Hindi kasi niya matanggap na walang kasalanan si Colleen sa nangyari kay Jessica. Kaya sa atin siya gumagante. Yung stalker na sunod sa'yo, Bunso.
Oh my gosh. Salbahe talaga yung bruhang yan.
Tsaka yung mga lalaki ng basto sa'yo.
Ikaw walang hiya talaga.
Hindi ko akalain kayang gawin ni Hazel to.
Yung nangyari kay Joel, si Hazel din may kagagawa na. Bakit pati si Joel nadama eh?
Nabuko kasi ni Joel yung connection ni Hazel dun sa lalaking kausap niya sa phone niya. Si Kuya Jojo.
Si Kuya Jojo? Yung therapist na nanay?
Kasabot siya ni Hazel?
Akala ko ba siya yung tumulong sa'yo para makatakas? Chef, ano pa talaga nangyari?
Anak, si Tatay.
Sobrang saya ko po, tatay, na nakauwi po kayong safe. Alam mo ba,
Worried na worried po kami ni nanay sa inyo. Hindi nga po kami makatulog eh. Iniisip po namin ni nanay kung ano po yung mangyayari sa mga plano natin. Yung bonding po natin bilang isang pamilya. Thank you so much po talaga kay Jesus na hindi kanya pinabayaan, tatay.
Salamat sa prayers nyo, ha? Daisy, alam mo, akala ko hindi ko na kayo makikita. Ang dami ko ng pangarap para sa atin. Akala ko talaga katapusan ko na yun, eh.
Jeff,
Magkikita pa tayo.
makakasama ka pa namin ng matagal.
Tatay, gusto mo po umuwi po kami dyan? Samahan po namin kayo lumaban sa Hazel na yon.
Anak, di na kailangan. Kahit kailan hindi nagagawa ng kasamaan yung Hazel na yun. Kasi anak, ni-report na namin siya sa pulis. Makukulong na yung babaeng yun.
Jeff? Andiyan si Jojo,
Anak, Daisy, tawagan ko na lang kay mamaya, ha? Ingat kayo dyan. Love you.
Sige po. Bye, tatay. Ingat ka po. Love you. Mwah.
Alice. Alice. Tulungan mo ko. Tulungan mo ko. Itago mo ko.
Itago? Kanino? Saan? Hazel, ayoko na madami dyan.
Wala ka na magagawa. Damay ka na. Alice!
Mrs. Gus! Sumuha ka na!
Eh, hindi mo. Baka nagkaramali kayo sa dali.
Babalik sa akin! Pasas mo!
Dennis, sandali lang. Sandali. Teka lang. Alice.
Pay ka niya na ikaw mismo ang utak ng pag-kidnap sa kanya. Sinuportahan nito ni Jojo Cañares. Kaya within protocol ang paghuli namin sa'yo.
Wala nga akong kasalanan. Hindi ba alam niyong innocent until proven guilty? Kaya papatunayan ko sa inyo, inosente ako. Akin na yung ano ko, yung phone ko. Tatawagan ko yung lawyer ko. Dali.
Ano yung kamay mo?
Hindi naman, dapat kanina pa eh. Tagal.
Hanggang dito na lang po ang paggamit nyo ng cellphone Bawal na po sa selda yan.
Aba, natural, hindi ako makukulong. Siguradong gagawin ng lahat ng lawyer ko para mapiansahan ako, no? Sasabi mo dyan. O bakit? Ano nakakatawa? Alam nyo kanina pa kayo, ha? Gusto nyo kasuhan ko kayo ng police brutality?
Ma'am, kayo nga po itong kanina pang nambubrutal Pwede ka naming kasuhan ng assault. Gusto mo, madagdagan yung kaso mo?
Ma'am Felma, si Manuel, humingi po ko sa inyong tawad sa mga nangyari.
Kung ganon, inaamin mo na nakipagsabuatan ka sa Hazel na yon?
Ayop ka! Pinagkatiwalaan ka namin? Pagkatapos ito na gaganti mo sa amin, ipapakamag mo ba yung anak ko? Ayop!
Sorry po. Pinanawala ako ni Hazel na masasama kayong tao. Na kayong dahilan kung bakit namatay ang anak namin.
Anong anak? Ha? Sinong anak? Ay, pala! Sino?
Si Jessica. Ako ang tunay niyang ama.
Ano? Mag-resign ka na? Atty. Salazar, hindi pwede. Kailangan kita. Dapat ka nandito ka na para piyansahan na ako eh. Attorney. Hello? Attorney Salazar. Attorney.
Ma'am, baka nakakalimutan mo. Kidnapping ang kasa mo. Walang piyansa yun.
Bubulak ka sa kulungan.
Magaling si Attorney Salazar. Kayang-kaya niya patunayan na wala akong kasalanan. Hintayin niyo lang. Papuputahin ko dito.
Anong ikaw ang tatay ni Jessica? Ha?
Paano nangyari yun? Sinungaling ka. Sinungaling kayong dalawa ni Hazel. Si tatay. Ang tunay na ama ni Jessica. Kapatid namin siya. Hindi ikaw. Kapatid namin si Jessica.
Pinakasalan ko si Hazel. Dahil pinagbubuntis si Jessica noon.
Sir, nagkarelasyon kami ni Hazel. Nagtatrabaho din ako sa Saudi noon. Natakot akong harapin ang obligasyon ko. Kaya tinakasan ko siya.
Nabuntis mo. Ikaw ang ama.
Imposible yan. Hindi sa akin ng batang yan.
Ano kaya mo sa akin? Pumapatol kung kanin-kanin mo.
Minsan lang nangyari yun.
Sapat na yun para mabuntis ang isang babae.
Kasi kailan lang yun.
Ayop ka! Pinasa mo sa akin yung responsibilidad mo! Tama na tayo! Ayop! Winasak mo yung buhay ko! Winasak mo yung pamilya ko dahil sa ginawa mo!
Patawarin niyo ako, sir.
Ayop ka! Tama na! Anak, hindi ka na may babalik yung panahon na nawala sa atin. At ikaw, alam mo ba nagkasakasaka yung problema ko dahil sa ginawa mo? Iniwanan ako ng paano pinakamamahal ko. Itinakwil ako ng mga anak ko. Pinili ko pakisamaan si Hazel. Tapos nalumpo ako. Sige, kaya sabihin mo sa akin, paano kita mapapatawad? Wala na sa'yo ng mga anak ko!
Tay, tama na!
Ano?
Tay, tama na! Tay, naiintindihan ko kung ba't ka nagagalit. Ganyan din ako nung nalaman ko yung totoo. Tay, pakinggan niyo mo si Kuya Jojo. Para maintindihan niyo.
Ano ba talagang motibo mo, Jojo? Kung ikaw talaga ang tatay niya, bakit ka nakipagkonsyaba kay Hazel? Ano bang kasalanan namin sa'yo?
Sabi niya, kayo rin din dahilan kung bakit namatay ang anak namin. Nung nalaman niyo na hindi totoo na anak ng tatay niyo si Jessica, pinagmalipitan niyo siya.
Inabuso, minaltrato si Jessica. Hanggang sa na-depress na yung bata. Hanggang sa namatay na yung anak natin.
Puro kasinungalingan. Hindi totoo yun. Minahal namin si Jessica. At hindi siya na-depress. Hindi namin siya trinato ng ganun. Ang totoo, hindi namin alam na hindi pala namin siya tunay na kapatid.
Kuya Jojo, aksidente yung pagkamatay ni Jessica.
Jessica! Jessica! Jessica!
Totoo pala yung sinasabi ni Sir Manuel. Nagsisinungaling si Hazel.
Habang lumalaki si Jessica, nare-realize ko, maling-mali ang desisyon ko. Dahil malapit si Manuel. Meron pala siya noon ng pamilya. Hindi naman sila kasal ng nanay ng mga bata. Kaya pala ganun na lang, kalakas ang loob na pakasalan ko. Gusto niya ako perahan para sa pamilya niya. Para makapagpatayo sila ng negosyo dito sa Pilipinas.
Pakasinungaling ng babaeng yan eh. Kahit kailan di ko siya pinagmalupitan, lalong-lalo na si Jessica.
Hindi wala kahit isang kusing na nakuha si Manuel sa kanya. Mag-isa ko, tinaguyod ang mga anak namin.
Kuya, tinuring namin na parang tunay na kapatid si Jessica. Aaminin ko, nag-aaway kami minsan. Pero hindi yun umabot sa point na na-depress siya.
Naniniwala ako. Patawarin niyo ako kung hindi ko agad na-realize yung totoo. Inunahan ako ng galit. Sinisi ko sa inyo ang pagkamatay niya. Naakala ko na mahahanap kong pamilya ko Nakakala ko na makakasama ko siya. Nakakala ko na mahalikan ko siya. Maiyakap. Pero hindi na pala yung mangyayari. Hindi na pala ako makabawi sa anak ko. Ang sakit-sakit na hindi ko na pala siya maabutan. Kaya na-encourage ako ni Hazel na ipagangganti si Jessica. I grabbed the chance na maging therapist ni Ma'am Felma.
How's Felma Landi as a patient?
Madaling makuha ang loob niya. And I think, tiwalang-tiwala siya sa akin.
Very good. Tandaan mo lang, ginagawa mo ang lahat ng ito para sa anak natin na si Jessica.
Colleen, ako yung stalker mo. Dinutusan ako ni Hazel.
Parang may sumusunod po sa akin.
Bunso, tumakbo ka!
Andrea, yung mga nambaso sa'yo, mga tauhan nyo ni Hazel.
Hi, Miss Beautiful. Sumama ka sa amin.
Ano ba? Doon nga kayo.
Tara! Tara! Tara na!
Pinatay ni Hazel. Si Joel. Tinulungan mo siyang gawin yun?
Usap-usapon din sa loob ng ospital na nag-OD siya. Pinatay mo siya?
Ang gusto ko lang naman, palabas yung nagdadrag siya. Para kung sakali magsumbong siya kay Felma, isipin nila nag-hallucinate siya. Hindi ko naman akalain na ganun pala kahina ang katawan ng lalaking yun.
Ba't yung ginawa yun? Walang kinalaman si Joel sa lahat ng to. Hindi niyo siya kailangan patayin. Hindi niyo kailangan gawin yun.
Hindi ko akalain na hantong sa ganito, Andrea. Pininiwala ako ni Hazel na lahat ng ginagawa namin para kay Jessica. Pero nung nakita ko kayo, mabubuting tao kayo. Ramdam ko na minahal niyo talaga ang anak ko. Kaya alam ko na mali. Hindi ko na natiis. Tinulungan ko si Jeffrey na makatakas. Sana mapatawad din niyo ako. Ang totoo, galit ako sa sarili ko. Dahil ako talaga may kasalanan kung bakit hindi ko nakita ang anak ko. Dahil iniwan ko siya. Kaya hindi ko na siya makakasama. Tawarin niyo ako.
Ma'am, wala na huya na kayong abogado eh.
Sinasagot ng kaibigan ko eh.
Ma'am, kung wala ho kayong makuwang abogado, pwede ho tayong mag-request sa PAW.
Pao? Di ba yun yung mga pro bono? Magaling ba yung mga yun? Kamamaya hindi naman umeffort dahil walang bayad.
Mrs. Cruz, huwag niyo silang maliitin. Magagaling po sila. Tsaka, may choice pa po ba kayo?
Ilang taon kong pinagpinakisamahan si Hazel alang-alang kay Jessica. Tapos hindi ko pala siya tunay na anak. Alam niyo, kawawa talaga yung batang yun eh. Nabuhay siya sa kasinungalingan ng nanay niya.
Hindi namin siya kadugo. Pero grabe yung pagmamahal at pagtanggap niya sa amin bilang kapatid. Alam niya kaya yung totoo bago siya namatay?
Kahit naman alam niya, hindi. wala rin naman magbabago eh. Kasi minahal niya pa rin tayong lahat.
Minahal din natin siya. Ng buo. Kahit na sandali. Naging pamilya natin siya. Naging bunso natin siya.
At dapat naman talaga ganun. Kahit paanong nangyari. Lagi nating mamahalin si Jessica bilang pamilya.
Kasi naranasan niyo kung paano magmahal si Jessica. Naramdaman niyo kung paano siya mahalin. Naranasan niyo kung paano siya yakapin. Halikan, nagkaroon kayo ng maraming pagkakataon na maging tatay sa kanya. Ako, hindi na mangyayari.
Nagawa mo yun kahit papaano. Naging tatay ka nung nagdesisyon kang tulungan si Jeffrey.
Lagi namin ito ipagpapasalamat sa iyo, Jojo. Kung hindi mo niligtas si Jeffrey.
ये हो क्या रहा है?
इंतजाम।
Luz, italaw ka. Demonyo ka, Hazel! Hindi ko pala tunay na anak si Jessica!
Masalanan ko ba kung tatanga-tanga ka?
Ibang klase ka rin, ano? Ginamit mo na si Manuel. Hinahamak mo pa siya.
Hindi ka ba natatakot? May participation ka sa pagkamatay ni Joey Santiago.
Isang kasalanan ang ginawa ko sa'yo, Manuel. Pero sinira niya yung buong buhay ko. Pero hindi ka papayag. May baraha pa akong lalaro.
Joy's professionalism broke completely. The rage was pure, unmediated, and terrifying. You want to talk about facts? Let's talk about facts. Let's talk about your bizarre personal life, your string of failed marriages, your weird, secretive religious beliefs that you force on everyone around you. It was the nuclear option, the launch of every toxic, tabloid-fueled conspiracy theory and personal attack she had been saving. The studio crew froze. This wasn't television anymore. This was a public meltdown. A profound silence followed the outburst. Tom Cruise's expression did something remarkable. The last vestige of the performer's smile faded, but it wasn't replaced by anger. It was replaced by a deep, profound sadness. He looked at Joy not as an opponent, but as a tragic figure. He let the ugly words hang and dissipate in the air, allowing everyone to absorb their venomous intent. "My personal life is my own, Joy," he said, his voice soft yet carrying immense weight. "But since you've chosen to launch that particular missile, let's examine its construction. You've been married, what, twice yourself? Yet when it's you, it's life experience. When it's me, according to you, it's a string of failures." He paused. "As for my faith, I have never, ever used this platform or any platform to mock or denigrate anyone else's deeply held beliefs the way you do, routinely, as a segment on this very show." He leaned forward. You don't question dangerous ideologies, Joy. You mock everything you don't bother to understand. You've built a career on intellectual laziness, substituting cheap ridicule for genuine research and contempt for curiosity. You don't combat divisiveness, you are its master chef. You stir the pot of hatred for ratings and call it a public service. Joy was breathing in ragged, shallow gulps, her chest heaving against her blazer. She looked like an animal caught in thorns, every thrash digging the barbs deeper. I am repeating what's out there, what people say. You are amplifying gossip, Tom stated flatly. There's a difference, and the people you cite are anonymous blogs and rival talk shows. You've created a closed ecosystem of spite, and you're the apex predator in it. But here's the thing, Joy. Outside that bubble, in the light of simple, rational decency, those words sound as hollow and cruel as they actually are. He gestured to the silent, watching audience. You're hearing them without your usual laugh track, without your co-hosts nodding along. How do they sound? The camera panned across faces in the crowd, faces showing not excitement, but discomfort, dawning realization, and even shame for ever having enjoyed this kind of spectacle. The spell was broken. The Emperor had no clothes, and Tom Cruise had simply, politely pointed it out. Joy Behar looked from Tom's composed face to the sea of silent, judging faces in the audience. For a fleeting second, a crack appeared in the armor of her rage, a glimpse of raw, naked humiliation. She saw herself reflected in their eyes, and it was horrifying. But the ego, a fortress built over 30 years, could not allow a surrender. The humiliation curdled instantly into a deeper, more dangerous fury. You know what? She said, her voice suddenly low, guttural, and trembling with barely controlled hysteria. I don't have to sit here. I don't have to take this abuse from some washed-up actor who thinks he's a philosopher. With a dramatic, shaking flourish, she began to rise from her chair. Tom remained seated, a mountain in the midst of her earthquake. Washed up? He repeated, almost amused. Joy, my last film grossed over $700 million worldwide. It inspired people. It created jobs. It showed people what dedication looks like. He paused, his head tilting. What was the last thing you created that brought genuine joy or hope or inspiration to a single human being? He let the question hang, a lethal strike aimed at the core of a critic's existential dread. And as for throwing a tantrum, I'm sitting here speaking calmly. You're the one screaming, standing up, and preparing to storm off. Who's the petulant child here? This is my show, she screamed, the words ripping from her throat, all pretense gone. The sound was raw, primal, and utterly untelegenic. Tom didn't raise his voice a decibel. Actually, he said, his calm now superhuman, this is The View. It belongs to the network, to the producers, to all the hosts, and ultimately to the viewers at home. He made a small, inclusive gesture. You seem to have developed a tragic misunderstanding. Being one voice on a panel does not make you its dictator. This isn't a monarchy. It's a conversation. And you just lost yours. Stunned, vibrating with rage, Joy turned to her sister hosts. Her eyes, wide and pleading, swept across their faces. Whoopi, Sunny, Sarah, Anna. It was a silent scream for backup, for solidarity, for the united front that had always shielded them from external criticism. Are you seriously just going to sit there? She demanded, her voice cracking. Are you going to let him talk to me this way, on our own set? The silence that followed was the most damning moment of the entire confrontation. It wasn't a pause, it was a void. Whoopi Goldberg looked down at her hands, her face a mask of profound weariness and sorrow. She opened her mouth, but no sound came out. What could she say? To defend Joy would be to endorse the very toxicity Tom had just surgically exposed. To agree with him would be a betrayal she wasn't prepared to make on live TV. Sonny Hostin, the lawyer, wore the expression of someone who has seen the evidence and found her client guilty. Sarah Haynes had tears shimmering in her eyes, overwhelmed by the emotional violence of it all. Anna Navarro looked shocked into rare silence. Their collective silence was a verdict. It confirmed everything Tom Cruise had said. They were not allies against a rude guest. They were hostages to a toxic dynamic. And in this moment of crisis, their silence spoke volumes. They were letting the fortress burn. The fact that you're looking to them for rescue, Tom said, his voice now almost gentle, when all I've done is disagree with you respectfully, tells us everything we need to know about your character, Joy. You've surrounded yourself with people who either echo you or are too intimidated to challenge you. You've mistaken that for respect. It's not. It's captivity. He sighed, and it was a sound of genuine, profound disappointment. And that's what I feel most of all. Not anger, disappointment. You were given a gift, a voice, a platform, an opportunity to connect, to illuminate, to make this noisy world a slightly better, more thoughtful place. And you chose this. You chose division over unity. You chose the cheap laugh over the hard truth. You chose the ego's hunger over the heart's empathy. You had the chance to be a light, and you chose to be a shadow. Joy Behar stood completely still, as if the words had physically pinned her to the spot. The fight drained out of her posture, replaced by a terrifying emptiness. She looked at the camera, seeing the red light not as a beacon of her power, but as the unblinking eye of millions witnessing her annihilation. She saw the crew members, their faces a mixture of pity and stunned awe. She saw the empty prompter, waiting for words that would not come. The persona of Joy Behar, the brash, unflappable queen of mean, had been disintegrated. What was left was a hollow, humiliated woman in a smart pantsuit. Her hands, trembling violently, went to her lapel mic. With fumbling fingers that refused to cooperate, she unclipped it. The soft thud of the tiny pack hitting the polished tabletop echoed like a gunshot. "I'm done," she whispered, though the mic on the table picked it up, amplifying her defeat to the world. "I'm absolutely done with this." "Joy, wait!" Whoopi began, half rising, but it was a gesture devoid of conviction. "No, Whoopi!" Joy shouted, the burst of energy her last spark. 30 years in this business, and I have to sit here and be lectured on morality by a Hollywood pretty boy who jumps on couches for a living? The insult was a ghost of its former self, a pathetic echo. She shoved her chair back, the legs screeching in agony against the floor. "I'm not going to be humiliated like this. Not by him, not on my own stage, not by anyone." Tom, still seated, watched her with that same heartbreaking sadness. "Joy, no one here is trying to humiliate you. But if you cannot handle your ideas and methods being questioned, if disagreement feels like humiliation, then perhaps you should reconsider being in the business of trading in controversial opinions." It was the final, perfect, logical twist of the knife. For a woman who had built her life on dishing out criticism, the inability to receive it was her ultimate, glaring hypocrisy. It was the checkmate move. Joy stared at him, her eyes glistening with unshed tears of fury and shame. She had no words left, no retort, no defense. With a sound that was half sob, half snarl, she turned on her heel. The cameras followed her, a lonely, defiant, broken figure storming across the bright, empty studio floor, her footsteps the only sound in the vast, silent space. She disappeared through the heavy soundstage door, and it swung shut with a final, muffled thump. I intentionally placed their full conversation at the very end of this clip for a reason. Without hearing those final words, the story wouldn't feel complete, and the true meaning might be missed. Every moment leading up to it builds context, emotion, and clarity, so when you finally hear what was said, everything connects. This isn't just a random ending, it's the key that unlocks the entire narrative. So I encourage you to watch closely and stay until the last second. Only then will the full picture come together. With that said, let's begin and uncover the whole story. The opening bell sounds. Joy Behar comes out swinging, aiming below the belt, hoping for a quick knockout. What she doesn't realize is she's just stepped into a trap of her own design. Joy Behar, leaning forward, voice dripping with faux concern.
So, Tom, let's talk about your new movie. I have to ask, at your age, isn't it time to stop doing your own stunts?
A nervous titter from the crowd. The other hosts freeze, smiles plastered on. The camera finds Tom. He doesn't flinch. He tilts his head, the smile softening into something more curious, more pitying.
Joy, I appreciate your concern for my relevance, though it's interesting. You've made a 40-year career out of analyzing other people's work from the safety of this desk. I've always been more interested in doing the work than talking about those who do.
Close on Joy. Her smile tightens. First parry, first hit. The studio temperature drops.
Oh, touching a nerve. I suppose when the work involves jumping on couches and shouting out about love. It does require a different kind of effort.
You mean expressing genuine, unfiltered happiness? I understand that might seem like a spectacle to someone who's built their entire brand on cynicism. It's a choice, Joy. You chose snipping from the sidelines. I chose doing things that make people feel alive.
And there it is. In under 60 seconds, Tom has reframed the entire conversation. It's no longer about his stunts or his past. It's about her choice, her cynicism. He's not defending, he's defining.
My brand is honesty, something your PR team seems to shield you from.
Is it honesty or is it cruelty dressed up as comedy? I've watched your show, Joy. You don't ask questions to understand.
Them to wound. There's a difference between a journalist and an executioner. You seem confused about which chair you're sitting in.
A deafening silence. The air is sucked from the room. Whoopi opens her mouth to intervene, but Tom continues, his voice a steady, relentless truth-telling machine.
You asked if I'm desperate. Let me ask you, what's more desperate than needing to belittle a guest to make yourself feel powerful? This isn't The View. Right now, it's the Joy Behar Power Hour, and frankly, it's an abuse of the platform these other panel have worked to build.
With her authority challenged and her motives laid bare, Joy does what all cornered predators do. She attacks. But Tom is armored in a fact she can't comprehend. He doesn't need her approval.
You arrogant little man. You think your box office numbers buy you the right to lecture me? I've been in this business since you were a teenager in tight pants.
There it is. Little man. When you can't argue with the point, you attack the person. Hollywood pretty boy.
Washed up, arrogant.
Your thesaurus of insults is impressive, Joy, but it's just noise to cover the emptiness of your argument.
He leans forward, locking eyes with her, and, by extension, millions of viewers.
You asked who I think I am. I'm a guest on your show, but more importantly, I'm a viewer. And as a viewer, I'm telling you what you've become, a bully with a microphone. You mistake ridicule for insight, and you've confused this talk show chair with a throne. It's not. It's just a chair.
Close on Joy. The camera doesn't blink. It captures the seismic shift, the rage dissolving into something worse, mortal embarrassment. She looks to Whoopi for backup, finds only pained avoidance. She scans the audience and sees not adoration, but witness. They are watching her see herself, and the reflection is devastating.
I I have dedicated my life to speaking truth. It's mega power.
I know. But Joy, look around. You are the power here. And what have you done with it?
The question hangs. It's the kill shot. Not a scream, but a sigh. Not an insult, but an indictment. What follows is the most extraordinary silence in television history. It's the sound of a persona shattering. Joy Behar stares at her hands. The fight is gone. All that's left is the hollow echo of Tom's words in the cavern of her reputation. She fumbles with her lapel mic, her hands trembling.
I don't have to. This is abuse.
With a sound that echoes like a gunshot, she slams her microphone onto the desk. The crew jumps.
No, Joy. This is accountability. And it only feels like abuse because you've never faced it.
I'm done with this show, with this farce.
Well, would anyone like to hear about the actual impossible mission in Mission Impossible?
She doesn't look at her co-hosts. She doesn't look at the audience. She walks off the set, a queen abandoning her crumbling castle. The camera holds on the empty space she left behind. Tom Cruise takes a slow breath. He turns to the shell-shocked remaining hosts, his demeanor shifting back to that of a gracious, if weary, professional.
A silence deeper than any before settled over the View studio. It was the silence of a battlefield after the last shot has been fired, a landscape transformed. The remaining hosts sat in a state of shock, staring at the empty chair as if it were a crater. The audience was utterly still, processing the seismic event they had just witnessed. This wasn't a ratings stunt. This was real. Tom Cruise took a slow, deep breath, the only sign of the immense emotional and psychological energy he had expended. He turned from the departed host's empty space and looked at Whoopi Goldberg. His face softened, the glacial focus melting back into the warm, approachable demeanor of a promotional guest. He offered a small, apologetic smile. "Well," he said, his voice returning to its normal, conversational tone, as if commenting on the weather. "Should we talk about the movie now?" The surreal normalcy of the question broke the tension in a wave of nervous, relieved laughter from the audience. It was the laugh of people waking from a collective nightmare. Whoopi, blinking as if emerging into bright light, managed a shaky nod. "Yeah," she croaked, clearing her throat. "Yeah, Tom, let's talk about the movie." The segment that followed was the most bizarre, subdued, and respectful interview in the show's history. Tom discussed stunt training, the importance of theatrical entertainment, and the dedication of his crew, all themes that now resonated with profound new meaning after the preceding demolition. He was, as always, the perfect professional, but the world had just seen the steel beneath the smile. In the control room, producers were in a panic, but also in awe. They knew they had just broadcast something that would transcend television, a cultural moment that would be dissected for years. Clips were being edited before the show even went to commercial. The social media explosion was instantaneous and volcanic. The narrative was not Joy Behar schools Tom Cruise. It was Tom Cruise dismantles toxic media culture, and the day the bully got bullied. The public, weary of cynical takedowns and mean-spirited punditry, saw in Tom's calm defiance a hero. They saw in Joy's meltdown the ugly truth of that cynicism when stripped of its power. Joy Behar never returned to The View that week. Officially, it was a scheduled vacation. Unofficially, it was a retreat from a battlefield where she was outmaneuvered, outclassed, and fundamentally exposed. Tom Cruise didn't just win a debate. He performed a public autopsy on toxic media culture, using Joy Behar as the cadaver. He proved that the greatest weapon isn't a louder voice or a sharper insult. It's unshakable calm. It's the courage to replace clever comebacks with uncomfortable truths. He didn't sink to her level. He made her look up to his, and in doing so, showed everyone watching the staggering height of the gap between them. This was the day the talk show lion met the Hollywood glacier, and the glacier didn't move an inch while the lion broke all its teeth. Joy Behar did not return to the show that day. Reports would later say she left the building immediately, bypassing her dressing room, and was not seen at ABC for weeks. Officially, it was announced she was taking a pre-planned sabbatical. Unofficially, everyone knew the truth. The fortress had fallen. While she would eventually return, her persona never fully recovered its unchecked swagger. A vulnerability, a crack remained. The audience could never unsee the woman behind the curtain, and the memory of her defeat tempered her future attacks. The dynamic at the view table shifted permanently. The other hosts found new courage to challenge, to moderate, to steer conversation away from pure vitriol. Tom Cruise, meanwhile, did something telling. He gave no follow-up interviews about the incident. He didn't gloat on social media. He simply continued his press tour, promoting his film about teamwork, dedication, and overcoming impossible odds. The message was clear. The confrontation wasn't personal for him. It was philosophical. He had seen a broken system and applied pressure to its weakest point. He wasn't fighting Joy Behar. He was fighting the idea of her, the normalization of contempt as content. So, what did we learn from this incredible cinematic confrontation? We learned that the most powerful weapon against bullying is not reciprocal anger, but fearless, principled calm. We learned that public discourse can be reclaimed from the merchants of cynicism, but it requires courage from those with a platform to use it for light, not heat. Tom Cruise, the action star, performed his greatest stunt not on a cliff face or a speeding motorcycle, but in a television studio, a high-wire act of moral clarity performed without a net. He proved that sometimes the most heroic mission impossible is simply telling the truth. What do you think? Was this a justified takedown of a toxic media figure? Or did Tom Cruise cross a line by turning a promotional interview into a public execution? Could this moment serve as a turning point for how we conduct public debate? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you believe in holding power accountable and elevating our collective conversation, hit that subscribe button. Because the real mission, should you choose to accept it, is to demand better from the voices we allow into our homes. This message will not self-destruct. It's up to us to keep it alive.